what's going on inside your own cells? Like right now, it's this unbelievable microscopic universe just humming with activity. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one tiny part of that universe and look at a shocking new connection that scientists have found to Alzheimer's disease. So let's get right to it. It sounds kind of crazy, right? What could a tiny little mailroom inside our brain cells possibly have to do with the disease as complex and devastating as Alzheimer's? Well, as it turns out, the answer is a lot, and it's a connection that is way more direct than anyone ever thought. To really get this, we have to meet the star of our show. I want you to picture a gigantic, super efficient shipping center, like an Amazon warehouse, but shrink it down so small you can't even imagine it. That's basically what's happening inside almost every single one of your cells. And here it is. This beautiful, intricate, layered thing is called the Golgi apparatus. You can think of it as the cell's master packer and shipper. Its entire job is to take in important stuff like proteins, get them ready, and ship them out to exactly where they need to go. It's absolutely essential. So, what is it exactly? Well, technically, it's a stack of these flat, membrane enclosed sacs. You can see how they're layered here, almost like a stack of pancakes. Scientists call them cistern. The Golgi's job is basically to grab raw materials, tweak them, and then package them into these little transport bubbles called vesicles for delivery. Now, you might think this is some brand new discovery, but we've known about this thing for a long, long time. It was first spotted way back in 1898 by an Italian scientist named Camillo Golgi. Believe it or not, for a while, people thought it was just a trick of the microscope, an optical illusion. But then, much better microscopes came along and proved, yep, it's real, and so they named it after him. So, how does this cellular post office actually work? Well, it's a pretty straightforward four-step process. First, it receives packages, proteins and fats, from its next-door neighbor, the endoplasmic reticulum. Then, it gets to work modifying them, sorting them, and slapping on these little chemical tags that act just like a shipping label. Once that's done, it bundles the finished products into new vesicles, and finally, boom, it ships them off. When it's working, it is a perfect model of efficiency. Okay, so we've understood how this works in a healthy cell for a long time. But that led to the really big question, the one researchers are focused on now. What happens when the delivery service fails? I mean, what are the consequences when this perfectly organized system just breaks? And this slide just shows you the problems so clearly. On the left, that's a healthy Golgi. See how it's all neat and stacked just like we saw before? But just look at the image on the right. This is what it looks like in the brain cells of someone with Alzheimer's. The entire structure just shatters. It breaks apart into all these tiny, scattered pieces. And this structural collapse, this shattering, it has a name. It's called Golgi fragmentation. And what scientists are now realizing is that this isn't just some random side effect of the disease. No, it's actually a key player, helping to make everything so much worse. All right, so we've got this broken down cellular post office. Now let's really dive in and connect the dots. How exactly does this failure lead to the kind of damage we see in Alzheimer's disease? Okay, quick refresher. You've probably heard about the two main villains in the Alzheimer's story. First, there are the amyloid plaques. These are these sticky clumps of protein that build up between the nerve cells. And second, you have the tau tangles, which are these twisted up protein fibers that build up inside the cells. Now, this diagram from the research paper is just brilliant. It shows us exactly what's going on. First, focus on path A on the left. That's the healthy Golgi, doing its job, leading to a normal, healthy neuron. But now look over at path B on the right. When the Golgi fragments, that whole sorting process just goes completely haywire. It starts sending proteins down a really dangerous path, one that leads directly to making toxic amyloid. Let me put it even more simply. When the post office shatters, it loses the ability to properly handle a really important protein called APP. And instead of processing it the right way, it gets chopped up into those toxic amyloid beta bits. The broken delivery system literally starts mass producing the very plaques that define the disease. But wait, it gets worse. The Golgi is also physically connected to the cell's internal highway system, which is made of these tubes called microtubes. A healthy Golgi helps keep those highways in good repair. But a fragmented Golgi, that's linked to those highways breaking down. And it's on those broken down highways that the other villain, tau tangles, start to form. So you see, this one problem, Golgi fragmentation, is connected to both of the major hallmarks of Alzheimer's. And the problem doesn't even stop there.
the initial damage actually snowballs into something even more destructive. It creates a self-perpetuating cycle that makes the disease get worse, faster. Now, this diagram might look a little complicated, but it tells a very clear and honestly a pretty scary story. What you're looking at is a feedback loop, where the problem just keeps feeding itself, getting worse and worse every single time it goes around. Let's walk through it together.
Okay, so here's how this destructive cycle works. Step 1, amyloid beta starts to build up, and that causes the Golgi to break apart. Step 2, that fragmentation completely messes up the cell's shipping and receiving. Step 3, the faulty shipping leads to the production of even more toxic amyloid beta. And step 4, all that new amyloid beta causes even more Golgi fragmentation, and around it goes, a vicious cycle just spinning out of control.
But, and this is a really hopeful but, understanding this horrible cycle actually points to a brand new way to fight back. Just listen to what the researchers themselves wrote. Restoring Golgi defects might be an attractive approach to treating or even preventing AD. In other words, if we can figure out how to fix the post office, we might just be able to stop the disease in its tracks.
Think about it. For so long, the approach has been trying to clear away the plaques after they've already formed. But what if we could step in earlier? What if we could protect the Golgi and just stop it from fragmenting in the first place? This opens up an entirely new direction for therapies that get to the real root of the cycle. And that really leaves us with this one big provocative thought. For decades, all the focus has been on the plaques and the tangles, the end result. But maybe the real key is one step before all that, in this tiny, hardworking post office inside our cells. Could fixing this fundamental delivery service be one of the next great breakthroughs in the fight against Alzheimer's? It's a question that brings a lot of new hope.